So today is Tuesday, so we're going to go over our Tuesday packet for the week of April 20th through the 24th. Tuesday, you have a math page again, pages 213 and 214. This one's a little harder than some of the other ones have been. This one is on distributive property. Remember, distributive property is just breaking apart an array and coming up with two different multiplication problems, finding the answers and then adding that together. We know how to do it. Sometimes we just have to remind ourselves. If you look at number 1, that does give you an example. There are other ways that you might want to be able to be doing this, and that's fine. You break that apart the way that works for you with the math facts that you know and try to come up with those answers. If you have any questions, be sure to text me, email me, or give me a call and let me know. I also want to remind you once again to do your extra math. Some of you are doing an excellent job with that. I also want you to reread the reading story, The Power of Magnets, and do workbook pages 173 and 174. I want you to read 20 minutes of a chapter book, just like always. And today we have a music activity to do. Again, if you have not yet received your specials information, please let me know and I'll get that information to you. This one is from Mrs. Mendenhall and it says, "Hi, Parkside musicians." She knows what good musicians you are. She wants you to pick one or two, or all of them if you want to, of these activities here. Email you pictures or videos of yourself doing these. She has her email on the paper. And you can also join Remind for her, just like you've done for me, and you can send some videos there. So you need to use a song that you already know, change the words to make it a song about what's going on right now or any subject that you would want. Some of you like to sing, some of you really like to dance, so maybe when you're doing that you can come up with a dance to go with it. You can also make a kazoo. It tells you on this paper how to do that. You can also make a maraca out of plastic spoons and a plastic egg and some rice. A lot of you probably have some plastic eggs laying around right now. And you can play musical statues. So pick one of those activities or more than one and take pictures of yourself or make videos of yourself doing it. Send them to Mrs. Mendenhall so that she can see them. If you need her information, please contact me and I can get that information to you. So one of the other things that we have going on at Parkside right now is a paper, looks like this, and it has some information. It says "We Are Parkside" at the bottom of it. On the back, it has a tic-tac-toe, and it's got some interesting pictures. It says to do 3 squares this week and see if you can fill the entire board. One of them is about being proactive. One of them is about making goop. We've made that before. We called it oobleck, but it's the same thing. There are also some pictures in here that are kind of interesting, and it says to guess who these people are. So you need to find who these people are. I'm guessing they might be some of your teachers. No, one of them is not Mrs. Whewell, but I don't really know who these are, so we'll have to wait and see if we can figure out the answers to that. So let's go ahead and look at this book, our Reading Adventures book. On pages 26, 27, it talks about electromagnets, so I'm going to go ahead and read that to you. You may not know it, but you live with electromagnets all around you. Here are just a few examples. Ding dong, pressing a doorbell turns an electromagnet on. The magnet makes a striker or arm move. It hits a bell and the doorbell rings. Did you know that electromagnets help you dry your hair? Any machine with an electric motor uses an electromagnet to turn working parts on and off. So a blow dryer, a vacuum cleaner, a refrigerator, washing machine, and radio all have electromagnets. Yesterday, the book asked, how many do you have in your house? And if you thought about that and made a list, it's probably a lot higher number than you really thought that it was going to be. Anything that uses electricity has one, so that's kind of interesting. Electromagnets even help you have fun. A computer uses electromagnets too. They help store information on the computer's hard drive so you can find it later. Music pumps out of a stereo speakers because of electromagnets. Inside, the cone has a coil attached to it. Around that is a magnet. Electricity creates a magnetic field. This vibrates or shakes the coil. The cone moves too. That's what makes the sounds you hear. So that's just a little more information about electromagnets. Some of you have asked me to keep reading this Virginia book, so I'm going to read a few more pages of that today. Now, it's been a while, I think, since we read this, but it says that it's December, and remember they're in Washington. She's hoping to catch a glimpse of someone. We'll have to see if she does that today. December 26th, 1864. Drizzling rain, hundreds of guns boomed in Franklin Square this morning. Jed told us the city is celebrating General Sherman's conquest of Savannah, Georgia. He thinks the war will end by spring. December 27th, 1864. The Porter children went home today. I watched the servants carry their trunks out to the carriage. They received many gifts from their grandmother for Christmas. One was the very copy of Swiss Family Robinson that I had been reading to her. They received other books as well, The Tiger Prince and Life in the Woods. Sarah and Eliza left in fur-lined cloaks. Robert carried away new skates and a sled. After they rode away, Mrs. Porter went up to her bed to lie down. When I got home, I went straight to bed too. Jane Ellen sat by me and stroked my hair. She asked me what was the matter, but I didn't tell her about the Porter children and their books and ribbons and dresses. I just said I didn't feel well. When she said, "Where do you hurt?" I answered angrily, "All over." Then I turned my face to the wall. She seemed to understand that I did not want to talk. Forgive me, but my life seems quite small compared to that of the Porter children, and now I'll never know the ending of Swiss Family Robinson. December 28th, 1864. Tonight, Jane Ellen declared that we were all too gloomy. She tried to cheer us up by saying we must think of a name for the baby. We each suggested a few names, but we found none that we could all agree upon. The conversation dwindled away, for I fear our hearts were not in it. December 29th, 1864. Mrs. Porter was still resting in bed today, so I left work early. On my walk home, I finally saw the sight I'd been waiting for: President Lincoln riding his gray horse and Tad at his side on his own horse. I recognized them at once when I saw all the soldiers guarding them. The soldiers held sabers over their shoulders. The president looked grave as he rode by. His dark eyes stared straight ahead. His face seemed even more deeply lined than when I saw him in Gettysburg. I caught only a glimpse of Tad. He was laughing at something and looked quite happy. I was seized with such a yearning to be Tad Lincoln that I could scarcely breathe. When I got home to our dreary rooms, I went straight to bed without hardly a word to anyone. Never has my own family looked more tattered and wanting. December 30th, 1864. Tonight a crowd in the street was singing, "When this cruel war is over." Only half listening, I thought they were singing "This Cruel World," and I'll admit I did not think that strange. December 31st, 1864. We are all together tonight. Jane Ellen served a special dinner of turkey for New Year's Eve. Jed says everyone believes 1865 will most certainly bring the war's end. We should be happier about this, I think. Perhaps it is the gray, rainy weather that keeps us all in such a state of melancholy. January 1st, 1865. Tomorrow, Jed, Paul, and I are going to the New Year's reception at the President's house. All the public is invited to shake hands with the President. I will look for Tad Lincoln. I have a great urge to see him again. I consider him the luckiest boy alive. Some nights I yearn so much to be Tad that I cannot even sleep. I shiver with cold in my bed and imagine myself riding on horseback with the President. January 2nd, 1865. Everyone in the world wanted to shake the President's hand today. Paul, Jed, and I did not get even close to him. Thousands of men, ladies, and children pressed forward. The crush was so great that some were hurt. We went home sorely disappointed. Jane Ellen was cheered later to hear that a number of Negroes were able to meet with the President. They all exclaimed, "God bless Abraham Lincoln." The President is pushing for a change to the Constitution that will end slavery once and for all. January 4th, 1865. A huge snowstorm today, freezing cold. Fighting the wind on the way to Mrs. Porter's, I almost wished I could lie down and die. January 9th, 1865. Each day I see more deserters from the Confederate Army. Jed says many have nowhere to go. On my way home this evening, I passed one who appeared to be frozen stiff. He was lying in an alley with no shoes or hat, his eyes closed, his face blue. I wondered about my mother's two younger brothers. Were they fighting as Rebs? Where are they now? Does one lie somewhere on the cold ground, or are they buried underneath it? I wish Paul had stayed in touch with my mother's family after her death. Now we'll never know who or where any of them are. Jed seems to feel as I do. 2 days ago, he carried an old blanket out to a Reb sleeping on the ground near our house. He said the man could be our kin, for all we know. That's all I'm going to write right now. I will talk to you again tomorrow.